Hello everyone, welcome back to the Ghost Island tutorial. So, I think in the last video we were collecting our collectible. Also I think we made it reappear. Wait, let me see if I'm live. And yes, we are. That's great. Yep, so far we have our baddies kind of moving. We have done the horizontal one, we have done a vertical one, we kind of disabled. Why is my vertical baddie not moving? Oh, because I've disabled the script. There you go. So that's what we have at the moment. So this is part 5 of the tutorial Ghost Island, where we get to learn Unity and C# from the very start, really. So everything is broken down, and I talk about every single step that I do. Now, in this tutorial today, we will be focusing on how we can actually detect collision between two objects. So right now, if I enable my let's say horizontal baddie, okay. What this would do is I can collect the coin, obviously, and if the horizontal body comes back, it's not going to really do anything really. If I change this layer, hopefully you guys remember about the layers. If I change this layer to maybe coin, okay, we would be able to collect the. Why can't we collect the thingo? I don't know. I actually don't know. Anyways, the idea is, why did I actually not collect? Oh, because it has no colliders on. Anyway, so yeah, we need to add colliders on. But the thing is, we are going to be focusing on how we can detect collision between two objects. So one would be our baddie, one would be our coin actor. Okay. Now, to get started, we're gonna just focus on a horizontal baddie. Okay, so let's just add a collider on it. So I'll click on your horizontal baddie. By the way, hopefully you guys can easily open Unity Hub, right? It's just Unity Hub, and then just click on your project. Right, for anyone who's just joining, I don't know how you found this video. If you have, this is the very first time you're watching this video, this is not for a uni project, or this is not for a really short amount of, it's not somewhere you're gonna come to learn something really quick. I do break down every single line of code and every single step. So if you're in a rush, please close the video. This video is not for you. This is gonna be a really chill session. The whole tutorial, the whole series is really chilled, where we just take a look at every single step and how things are done in Unity and C#. Alright, so these are the scripts so far we have. Activate collision, horizontal movement, vertical, and the movement for the baddie. Now, I'm going to go to the script a bit later, but first, I'm going to add a collider. Hopefully, from the previous session, you guys remember that to detect collision, we need colliders. And that was a good example. So, my player can collect the coin, okay? If I click on the coin actor, coin object that is, you can see how it's on the coin layer here at the top right. However, if I change my baddie, horizontal baddie, to the coin layer, we won't be able to do anything, and that is because we don't have any colliders. Okay, a component which helps you detect collision between two objects. So let's go ahead and add the collider. So I'm going to go with collider. So add component first, and then do collider. And obviously this is a square-shaped object. We're going to go with a box collider. The thing is, in my actual game, that is this one, all the actors, they have box colliders. Oh no, they actually have, yeah, I think the baddies have box colliders. Yeah, so all of them actually have box colliders. So yeah, we can just stick to box colliders. But we can change it later towards the end when we do a session where we just polish up our games, and obviously add the custom sprites. Anyways, for now I'm just going to go ahead and add my box collider. Before I do that, I'm just going to click on horizontal baddie so it's zoomed in, then add component box collider 2D. That is really important. Now, same, I think I've gone over this in the previous video. So you can move the colliders left and right with this offset. Obviously I don't want to do that, I just want to do it, set it to 0. You can make the size bigger, okay, in terms of its X and Y, that is width and height. I'm not going to do that, just stick to 1 because that's the actual size. Now, to the topic of dynamic objects compared to static. So in the previous session, if you guys remember, I didn't really make my the coin object have a rigid body. Okay, so it just has a collider. However, my player does have a rigid body. And if you remember, any character that moves, and if you want to detect the collision properly, you need to have them, you need to add rigid body to them as well. As the baddie objects, as they would be moving, you want to add the rigid body component as well. So go ahead and press add component and add rigid body 2D. It's just for those those objects that that are going to move in your level. Okay, they should have colliders and also rigid body. Now, when you add rigid body, just recapping from previous session, if I just leave it like that and launch, hopefully you guys remember what will happen. The physics engine of Unity takes over. Okay, we don't necessarily want that in our case, and to turn that off, we just set this body type from dynamic to kinematic. Okay, so from dynamic to kinematic. This tells the Unity engine that okay, I'm not gonna really interfere with whatever the program is doing. I'm not gonna implement any of my physics code, whatever the programmer wants would happen. What that really means is if you want to go back, go through the object, you can, okay, back to how it was. So basically there is no physics interaction or anything between your player object, okay, so the player and your baddie. Just to give you guys a better example, so if I just set this player's body type to dynamic, okay, and just take the gravity away. I'm just going to take the gravity away if I can find the gravity thingy. So material simulated, gravity scale. So yeah, I think it's for some strange reason, you know, I'm just gonna eat up time, never mind. Just go back to kinematic. So the thing is, where did I, oh, there you go, my horizontal body. So the simplest explanation is that you don't have physics engine messing up or interfering, whatever you want to do. Okay, now with that out of the way, and now that we have a rigid body on the horizontal body and a box collider, the Unity engine would be able to detect collision. Okay, however, it's not going to do anything. And if you guys remember, we have this is trigger on the collider component. You need to just set the is trigger to true, so we can receive the item here, can receive any trigger event whenever any other collider enters its area or its radius. Okay, the way I'm coding it, it's not that necessary. However, it's important to just turn the is trigger on, just in case you want to code something on the baddie. Okay, now let's have a look at what happens, and see if you can predict what's going to happen now. Okay, oh wait, before I do that, I just want to quickly change this default layer to my coin. Okay, so for the horizontal baddie, the computer thinks both the coin and the baddie, they're on the same coin layer. And if you guys remember from the previous session, we have the collision turned on for the coin layer and the player layer. Okay, and there you go. You can actually collect the what do you call it? The baddie as well. Now I actually don't remember if I have made the collision turned on for the baddie or not. So I'm going to click on Edit and Project Settings, Physics 2D. Yeah, I do have the player coin and player baddie collision. So that should mean, that should work as well. So if I just change my horizontal body to my to the layer of body, you'd see how my player can also collect the body as well. And that is because of this, and that's the whole point of today's lesson. So at the moment, if I open up my collision script, at the moment we only have one particular code block that detects collision, okay? And no matter which trigger object, which trigger collider enters the player's radius, just set that object to false. Okay, so it can be the coin, it can be the baddie. The game doesn't really care. It just sets that object to it deactivates that object, meaning you don't see the player. But that is not what we're going for. We want the baddie to restart or do damage to the player. Okay, so in order for us to do that, I'm gonna do the code in a really different way. Okay, the reason I'm doing it in this manner, not really using layer mask, is because I want to re-emphasize the ifs and else, and also to keep the code really naive, so it makes sense to any beginner. Okay, so right now we have layers. One of them is player, coin, and baddie. They're really the three active layers. Okay, so player layer has an integer value 8. Okay, coin layer has an integer value 9, and baddie layer has an integer value 10. I'm going to use the concept that we talked about in the second tutorial, where we used ifs and else and the values here, okay, to make sure that we can detect if we are colliding with a coin or we are colliding with a baddie. Okay, so let's see how it can be done. So inside the collision script, so collision.cs, meaning C# script, we have the on trigger to the enter. Here what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an if. So if, and then we want this reference. Remember, this reference is any object, okay, any object, which can be the baddie object, or it can be the coin object. Okay, so that would be the reference. You just get the reference of that object from using this collision code block. Okay, so we're going to use if collision. So that is the collider. If you guys remember, if we do collision remove or something, this just collider disappears. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Collision.gameObject. So whichever game object this collider is attached to. What we're going to do now is we want to check what layer this game object may be in. Okay, so we're going to go .layer. Okay. And again, this is not the ideal way to do it, but I feel like anyone who's starting out would have an easier time understanding this concept. So what we're going to do is we're going to check the number here. So baddie obviously is located at integer value 10, so layer 10. So we're going to go collision.gameObject.layer space equals 10. Okay. So if the collider, okay, that has entered the player's radius, so the collider's game object, and then we're checking the layer at which the game object is on, and if that matches 10, okay, and we know that 10 is the baddie's layer, okay, so we now know that, okay, a player has collided with the baddie. What we can do, we can restart the scene. Okay, now restarting the scene, this can be done in multiple ways, and again, I'm going to do it in a way which is the most trivial, and which is probably more, I don't know if I wouldn't call this the best practice. Okay, I tend to avoid strings, but that's exactly and precisely what I'm going to do, because that just makes a lot more sense for anyone who's starting. So the code you want to use is scene manager. Okay, scene manager. Now when you do scene manager, Unity should automatically import this Unity engine.scene management. If it doesn't, go ahead and at the top type up using Unity.scene management, so Unity knows where to find the code. Okay, so you're gonna go scene manager dot load scene. Okay, scene manager.load scene around brackets and semicolon. And inside the round brackets, you just want to have a string. String is basically any name, anything that is surrounded by the quotations, okay, wrapped around the quotations. And inside the quotation, you just want to type up the name of the scene you want to go to. For our instance, we just want to reload the scene, which for me is called Island 1. Okay, so have a look at what your scene is named. You can click on the scenes here as well. So from assets, you can go to scenes and also see what it is called, or here up here as well. So mine's called Island 1 because I named it to Island 1. So I'm just going to type that name up, Island space 1. That's how it's typed, and you can see why I don't like string, because if I don't put a space or maybe forget something, Unity won't complain. Here during compile time, it would complain when I am coding, which is just too annoying. But yeah, I feel like this is the easiest way for anyone to really visualize what's going on. So if you hit an object on layer 10, you just reload the scene, or load the scene rather, that is Island 1. Now this can be extended, so this notion can be extended. So if you want to add another scene, which can be a game over screen or like whatever, okay, you can do that as well. Okay, so you can easily extend this notion to maybe add a door character, where you collide with a door, you can just go to another level. Okay, so this is basically what you do whenever you want to reload a scene. Not precisely though. Okay, but you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and not change, I mean, I'm gonna try, oh my god, I'm gonna die. So if I hit the baddie, come back baddie, you'll see how it restarts my scene. As a matter of fact, I need to move my baddie player a bit because my player is too close to the object. Okay, so just keep loading the scene. Okay, so whenever you collide with the baddie, this scene loads. Now I would like to, however, show you guys how like in most cases you do it. Okay, I don't know if this doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. You can just still stick to the string. So scene manager, get active scene. So it just gets the active scene dot build index. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Get active scene. Is that a quotation? Nope. No. I don't know, bro. Get active scene build index. How do you get the build index? Anyways, let me just Google it up. That will give you guys a good understanding of how you can search up codes. Okay, so scene manager, active scene. Oh, there you go. You can just literally see it. It's a really common way to do this actually. Build index. There you go, get active scene, I guess. How do I return a scene? Okay, get active scene dot build index load scene. That's the one. That's the code I'm talking about, and this is the code that you would normally use as well. Okay. Why is this guy complaining though? When I start my game, I'm in the menu. When I press blah blah blah, I don't know. Scene manager. So scene manager get active scene dot build index. Isn't that exactly what I was doing? Is working badly. I don't know, dude. Why is it working badly for you? Okay, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what I did. Scene manager dot get active scene. Dot build index. Oh, there you go. Okay. So this is what you do normally. So it just returns the index of the scene that's active. If you want to have a door that takes you to the next level, you can literally do this build index dot +1. Okay, so this kind of takes you from one level to another. However, as I said, this is for a beginner's lesson. If you don't really understand what's going on and you want to stick to string, because that makes a lot more sense, I mean, go for it. Okay, but this code would take you from the very first scene to the next scene to the next scene to the next scene. Okay, anyways, I'm just gonna get rid of that, and I'm gonna go with the string, which is, I forgot, Island 1. Yeah. Okay, so that is my ghost layer. Hopefully you guys can easily figure out the coin section now. So coin layer has a value of 9, so we can just go back to script and add in our code. Okay, so if collision.gameObject.layer equals to 9, then you want to do whatever you want to do. We want to do this, that is collision collision.game object set active to false. So we're going to drag it and place it inside the first if. Okay, so if I hit the coin, I collect it. If I hit the baddie, I restart. Now the thing is, I hate magic numbers. I hate having numbers lying around like this, which doesn't tell you what they are. So what I'm going to do is just under the class declaration, so here, I'm going to go ahead and create 2 private variables. Okay, private, I'm going to make it constant, meaning you can't really change it. Private const, then integer. Okay, so if I've been using float values for timers, integer is another data type that is just that's used to represent whole numbers. Okay, so I'm going to call this layer coin. Okay, so coin equals to 9, and another private const int. I'm going to call this one baddie. Okay, so baddie all caps. I kind of do that. This is a habit from Java. Okay, so that's my baddie layer, that's my coin layer. Okay, so now rather than just typing up 9, we can just type a coin. Okay, so now if someone's reading your code, even you reading your code, it would make a lot more sense. If your colliding object hits a layered coin, you set the object to false, or if it hits a baddie layer, you just reload the scene. Okay, now let's go ahead and polish this off by adding it to our another baddie as well. By the way, this tutorial is going to be really short because I went over, I think, 40 minutes in the previous tutorial, so I wanted to do a shorter video. Okay, let's go back. And just going to go back to vertical baddie. I'm going to enable it first. Then add vertical script. I'm going to enable the vertical script because I disabled it for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah. So I've enabled the vertical script. It has a collider. It doesn't have the rigid body, so I do want to have to add the rigid body. Okay, just add the rigid body. Change the dynamic to kinematic, so you take the control away from physics, and the layer of this vertical baddie should be baddie as well. Okay, so with that added, let's launch our game. We should be able to collect the coin, no problems there. We should be able to hit the baddie. Why is my vertical baddie? Oh, there you go. There it comes. All right, so we can collide with any object on the baddie layer and it reloads. We can collide with any object on the coin layer and we can collect it. Now, the logical thing for me would be to start adding scores. But I'm going to do that in a separate video where we can add scores and also UI, so you can have a display. I think we're actually coming close to the end of the series. Actually, we only have UI and score remaining, and so that's one video. And after that, we're just going to do the actual sprites, the custom sprites, and add some sound, and that's it. So yeah, maybe 2 more videos, and then we're done. Okay, so the last thing for today would be to add prefabs. I've been using this term called prefab since I think the beginning of the series, but I haven't really mentioned what they are. Now, what they are, rather than me explaining it, let me just show you something really quick, okay? Okay, so let's say you have added a lot of baddies, all right? Horizontal baddies. So let's take this horizontal baddie, for example. So one horizontal baddie has the rigid body, has the collider, okay, and you have everything set up. However, you may want to have tens and thousands of baddies, and you may want to create them on the fly using code, okay? Problems would be with that if you don't have a prefab, or if you don't have a way where all of the baddies, all of the entities, all of the objects that you spawn of the baddie, if they're not properly set up, you have to like manually set them up. For example, here, my first horizontal baddie has its collider, has a rigid body, but this one, the disabled one, let me enable it. This one here doesn't have the rigid body and doesn't have the collider. Now, for one of the object, like another, so there's only one of the instance for the horizontal baddie, you can just go ahead and add rigid body, and add a box collider, no big deal. Okay, right, we just added it, so no biggie. So what am I talking about? Think of if you have like tens and twenties or hundreds of baddies on your level, okay, and you just want to, you have to like do this for all of them, okay, over and over again. That's one problem. The other problem would be if you're creating items on the fly, okay, you need a better way to create them as well, okay, using code. And whenever you're doing it using code, you need to, you are instantiating, and you are instantiating prefabs, okay. Prefabs, you're basically instantiating prefab. You're basically creating prefabs. Now, it's a really useful concept, as you can obviously see. You don't have to like manually do this for every single item. You just do, so you can just get rid of the other horizontal body. So you have one instance of a vertical body, one instance of horizontal body. Make sure they all have their codes and everything done, and then you can just go to the assets folder. Let's create a new folder there, okay. So create folder, let's call it prefabs. So this folder will store all of our prefabs. Okay, prefabs are really, think of them as a blueprint, okay? So blueprint for creating other entities. That's really what a prefab is. So we have manually worked on, we have constructed these objects, so horizontal body, vertical body, coin, okay? Now what we are gonna do, we're gonna turn them into blueprints, so we can create them by dragging or whatever, okay. We can give, in this tutorial, in this series, we're just gonna be dragging them over, but obviously you can create them using codes as well. So I'm gonna go ahead into my prefab folder. To make any object a prefab, you just drag them. So left click on the object and drag them and place it in here, okay. So in the assets section, where I have created another folder called prefab, so just let it in, and you'd see how this part here goes blue, okay, so it goes blue, and you have this prefab here. So that's how you basically create a prefab. You're gonna do that for vertical body as well. It's super simple, but hopefully you guys can see how beneficial it is. As you can like imagine, you are creating a blueprint, and then you can make tons and tons of items out of that blueprint, okay. So I'm going to drag over the coin parent here as well. That's going to be my another prefab. So you have three prefabs: horizontal body, vertical body, and coin parent. What does it do in terms of gameplay? What difference does it make, or what difference has it brought for our gameplay? Nothing really, because it's a simple project, okay. There isn't much of a difference, but hopefully you guys can visualize this idea that if you have code where you have these baddies spawning randomly, okay, rather than you dragging them over, if you want them to spawn randomly, you now have these blueprints that you can instantiate and they'll be created, okay. In our case, it's not a big deal, but you guys hopefully can see why it is a really important concept, and it helps to know how to create them. Trust me when I tell you, although it's really easy, maybe I was just too stupid, or maybe our lecture wasn't too good, I actually struggled understanding what a prefab is and how to create them and why they're important, okay. Hopefully you guys can see why they're important. If you at any point need to change something, so let me duplicate a horizontal body, okay. So I'm going to duplicate a horizontal body. Hopefully you guys remember, it's just Control D. There you go, horizontal body 1. I'm just going to move it here. I'm just going to call this a test body, okay. I'm just going to call it, rename to test. Now, if you want to change anything, okay, to a prefab, to an actual prefab, you click on this arrow. See the arrow? You click on there, and then you go ahead and change it. This changes. This brings the change to the blueprint rather than a particular object. Okay, so whenever you're changing something to a prefab, make sure you are doing this. You're clicking on this arrow, and then you're changing it here. Okay, you're not changing it anywhere else. Although, like, you can drag them over like that, but you want to if you want to bring any change, you just don't do changes here. So if I, let's say, add a component, let's say particle effect for some reason. So if I add a particle system, okay, to this horizontal body 1, this wouldn't necessarily be, you know what, that's just too distracting. I'm just gonna get rid of that. So if, you know what, like, I actually have to keep that. So if I do that and drag it over, drag another baddie prefab here, okay, the horizontal baddie, you'd see how this one doesn't really emit the particle systems. However, if I get rid of the particle system here, remove component, if I go to my horizontal baddies prefab and then add a particle system here. All right, let's now go back to our scene. Now you'd see how all of our baddies, if I turn them on, they all emit annoying particles. Okay, so the idea is, and the concept that you need to know, or the thing that you need to know is that if you're trying to change something to a prefab, you're doing it using this arrow or directly clicking on the prefab, okay? And I'm gonna get rid of this particle system because that's quite annoying, okay? Although particles, I love them, it helps you make your game a lot prettier, but just we don't really need it. All right, so that's what we have learned this session. We have learned about how to detect collision in different layers, okay, for different layers. And also we have learned about prefabs and how to create and edit prefabs, and how you can keep adding and how to modify them, really, okay? So these are really important and cool concepts. We also learned how you can reload a scene and how we can check for different layers, although this is not the way you'd probably do. You probably would add a layer mask and then go from there. But as this is a beginner's level tutorial, I wanted you guys to have a better visual understanding of what we're doing, so I did it this way. Load scene code, show you guys how you can use the build index to go to the next level if you end up adding a door, or you can just do this as well if you're just doing one level game like this. Right, so that's been part 5, I guess. In the next session, we are going to work on the UI and the scoring system, so you can get some points of the collectibles, and it would reflect on our levels by showing us a UI of some sort. Okay, so that's going to be level 6, that's part 6, and then on part 7, we're just going to add some custom sprites and some sounds, and that'll be it. Okay, all right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.